Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soul Sessions. I'm Debra
I'm Dr. Rob.
with Creative Mind, and we are talking about the mother-son relationship. We're doing a series on the father-daughter, mother-son, son-father, mother's daughter. And so this is the last one, which is the mother-son. And we're going to talk, it's a lot about relationships and emotions.
Yeah.
But before we begin, I do want to remind you, if you have not done this already, please subscribe to our podcast. Just click on the subscribe button so you can make sure you get every episode of this podcast and series. So let's talk about the mother archetype and men and how they deal with her.
Luckily, Jung wrote a lot about the mother.
More than the mother, the father, because he's
the mother archetype.
A guy.
It could be. Or simply, I think psychology was always interested in the mother's kind of role in development. And because they're the ones that bring us into life. And it's our primary relationship, as Freud said.
And Jung also drew on his own experience when he came up with the theory. And what I noticed is when I started looking as a woman on working with the animus, very little on the animus, but lots on the anima, which of course is his perspective. But anyway, let's talk about the mother.
Yeah. So Eros is another name that Jung would use for the anima.
Or the feminine principle?
The feminine principle. And so he says Eros is the principle that binds, the force that draws individuals together, fostering relationships and the unfolding of the soul through connection. And really that's what a relationship is, right? It's a good one anyway. It's the unfolding of our soul in that connection.
So it's emotions, it's connectivity, it's nurturing, it's creativity, where the father is, or the animus is more about action, about movement, about will. So this is more this deeper, soulful, earthy kind of experience.
Yeah, and the mother archetype, she really plays an important role in the individuation process, which is the process of one becoming oneself. So the positive aspects, all archetypes have both positive and dark aspects. The positive aspects, nurturing, providing a sense of safety, fostering emotional growth. The darker ones, or the negative ones, overprotectiveness, controlling, devouring. The devouring mother, often seen as the one that stifles the growth of the child, in this case, the son.
Well, Hansel and Gretel, she ate the children, right? So it's like the devouring mother, like symbolically in myths. Yeah. Kali in Eastern philosophy, Hindu philosophy.
Yes.
Yeah. So I could take you into this world, I could take you out, kind of thing. Like the mother gives birth, but also can be destructive. Destructive force. Just like nature, there's a beautiful, it creates life. You look at the earth, but also storms come and it destroys, and the seasons, and there's like kind of cycle of having both.
Yeah. It's such a delicate balance that has to be achieved. Because the mother, of course, wants to care for the child and give that sense of nurturing and protection. But at the same time, the child has to fly the coop, right, and leave the nest. And so she has to foster some kind of independence in them as well. And often that balance, if it goes wrong, that's where you have problems. Or you see these kind of enmeshment where the son is not able to break free from the mother's apron strings, like they say, or the umbilical cord, right? And SNL, they used to do a skit where the guy actually had an umbilical cord.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Going to the mother, right? And still as an adult. And of course, in the language, we still have those kind of ideas, right? Of a mama's boy, as someone who's overly tied to the mother.
And so for a man having that relationship with the mother, he needs her, especially when they're younger. And then at a certain age, when there's a breaking away, where he is more like, you know, in his manhood or little manhood. When does that happen? Or I know it's over time, but is there like a certain age that the boy is supposed to rebel against the mother and start to be less tied to her apron strings?
Yeah, I think naturally puberty is that point, right? Is that breaking point where the child has to break away from the mother and enter the camp of the men and be initiated into that culture of men and become a hunter, warrior, or whatever you know those metaphors used to be. That's one of the problems that Jung saw, was that there are no longer these kind of rituals that can assist people in enacting those big changes.
Well, just like with women, there's no ritual for a woman becoming a woman or a man becoming a man.
Well, there are, of course.
I mean, not
going out to college, quinceañeras.
Well, in
Sweet
Christian
16.
Catholic, you have their confirmation.
Yes, but often they play out kind of without the deeper understanding of what's happening or what the purpose of those rituals are.
And so the anima is the feminine principle, and so the mother is the first carrier of that anima in the man, and that is his own inner feminine that he has. He kind of starts to have a relationship with his own inner feminine through what he sees in the mother.
Yeah, exactly. Jung, Jung learned a lot from Freud, but he rejected Freud's idea of this kind of Oedipal complex, that the child was in love with the mother, kind of, and wanting to replace the father,
kill the father. Yeah.
Jung's idea was primarily that that there might be some of that, but that it's really inconsequential. That what is really happening is these deeper archetypal patterns that are within us are being projected onto our parents. So we have the mother archetype within us, and we project that beautiful, incredible, powerful mother archetype, both her light aspects, meaning the nurturing and creative aspects, as well as the powerful, devouring elements. And we fear our mothers. We both love and fear them. Because, like you say,
put the fear of God in you.
Anybody that gives you life can also take it away.
Yeah. And so, in a healthy relationship, a man develops a good inner relationship with his own anima, which is emotional intelligence, his own creativity, and then obviously healthy relationship with women. But when it goes wrong, when it's not healthy, which is, there's spectrums of what that is. What would be the opposite of that?
Yeah. So let's take let's say a typical one or a common one where individuation doesn't take place. And here, individuation, we mean more the developmental individuation of breaking away from the mother.
Like if he's enmeshed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's kind of a psychological, emotional enmeshment with the mother.
Like dependency, overly dependent on her?
That would be one of the characters.
Wanting her approval, like she has almost like the queen, and any woman plays secondary to her.
Yes, and in extreme cases, I have seen some extreme cases, the son is never able to break away from the mother to the point where they have to live right by her. Sometimes
or live with her
in the garage or in the basement or somewhere, right? And they're still kind of dependent on the mother even into adulthood.
I worked on with women who said he's so into his mother and he lives at home and he can't break away, and then also too, I think in families now, if you have an aging parent and the mother moves in, it's the son is always putting the mother first before others, or looking for her approval. If mom doesn't approve of this woman, I'm not going to marry her. She has that weight. And so he's almost not able to develop his own choices. And
Well, yeah, that's what we mean. More, it's more psychological. In other words, we don't mean that if you're living with your mother,
Yeah.
you're enmeshed or anything like that. We're just saying this is more the developmental aspect of individuation, of really growing up and becoming yourself independently from your mother. That your identity is still very much tied to the mother.
Well, it's if you think about people that aren't individuated, and even in the healthiest of relationships, you love your mother so much. I know in New York, it was like in Brooklyn, you're like, my mom lives across the street, my brother lives next door, we all live on the same block, and it's valued, right? That you're there and you're with your parents. But in a way, you don't ever think for yourself. You're basically in the group of the family and the culture and what your mother approves, and you don't really have your own identity. So it's not like damaging, and it's not terrible that you love your mother so much. But psychologically, it's like almost like you can't mature or make your own choices. You're not consciously choosing your life. You're being led by the initial template that you were given, and it's like kind of becomes your template.
Yeah. So one of the characteristics might be something like this: that the son kind of develops this savior complex where they feel responsible for the mother's happiness. Now, again, we all kind of feel a little bit responsible for our mother's
wrong
happiness,
with that,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, there's nothing wrong with this. It simply means when it becomes extreme, when it becomes so extreme that you're not able to break away and develop your own life, your own interests, your own personality, even. It's just tied to the mother that much.
And even not wanting to pursue your own goals and your dreams because you need to be close to your mother, or giving up like a traveling the world because you're worried. That movie Beau is Afraid is a really good example of that, like enmeshment with the mother, right? It's kind of a disturbing movie with Joaquin Phoenix, but definitely that mother impact, right?
The opposite can also play out, where the son becomes the rebel, constantly resisting the mother's influence, rebelling against it, but they're still very much tied to her because their primary focus in their life is to push against the mother. In other words, everything they're doing is still in a relationship to the mother.
So rejecting emotions, rejecting creativity, even rejecting their own, women to push be like super independent. I'm not going to let myself feel anything. I'm not going to be wimpy. And it could be many things. They may lose respect for the mother, or, think that she's too weak. And then they think of women that way all the time. That's the extreme cases. But you see that in the world.
Yes. Yeah. And then one of the most common ones that von Franz, one of Jung's great disciples, predicted that in our culture, in Western culture, there would be an epidemic of this. She said, the eternal child, remaining the eternal child.
The poor eternus.
The son that refuses to grow up and become an adult, just holds on to their youth, to their fantasies, right? They still play video games. And again, I know a lot of people play video games. I'm not pointing fingers or anything.
But avoiding the adult responsibility. Like you don't want to grow up. You want to play like the playboy even, right? Someone who's like always flitting from job to job, or even like into their arts, and artist, or, they could be that non-committal to anything in life because they want to just be that child and being taken care of.
Yeah. The poor eternus, never taking responsibilities, the responsibilities of an adult, which, our culture kind of supports that, right? We worship youth. We want to stay young forever. We want to have fun all the time and fill our mind with distractions. That's kind of conducive to that kind of situation.
And then when they have relationships, they're the type that don't want to take responsibility. They want to play. Maybe they're very sexual and they kind of float around and have, fun with women, but never want to have a commitment.
Yes. So yeah, it definitely plays out in romantic relationships. Like you say, they just want to stay kind of childlike in relationships and not commit. Commitment is a big challenge for them.
And so when we think about romantic relationships, just moving on, just in general, whatever the mother is, whether you're the savior, the rebel, or the eternal child, any unresolved shadow elements that you have in your life, which means that unconscious parts of yourself that you repress, will show up in the other person. And either as like they're fulfilling something for you. So if you can't get in touch with your own emotions as a man, you may be attracted to someone who's very emotional. And then a lot of times that woman becomes the container for the man's emotions, and she lives it out and she plays it out. And then he resents her for it as well, because he judges his own emotions. And then, you're so emotional, and I don't like how you cry, like uncomfortable with her crying, uncomfortable with her upsets, and not able to really connect on that emotional level. So that happens. And unable to reach out in a nurturing way.
Yeah. Yeah, because in that dynamic, somebody who is not emotionally mature or hasn't broken away from the mother archetype, then they're expecting and looking for a woman to bring the emotions and to work the emotions in the relationship, so that they don't take on the responsibility of doing their part emotionally. They're essentially saying, you're the woman, you do the emotional work in the relationship. I'll just, show up and be myself.
And on the flip side, if they're enmeshed, where they're not rejecting the mother, they become so influenced by their mother that they don't have, sometimes they tap into their own masculinity, where they tend to not be able to have their own power. And when we talk about masculinity, we're not talking about like sex. We're talking about the masculine power, which is that will, that unseen, the action. They tend to kind of have less, maybe being over emotional, them being so just like their mother, and they don't cultivate their masculine qualities.
Yes. And again, like in the other dynamics we were talking about, the saving grace is that this archetype, the mother archetype, can be accessed internally in the individual psyche.
And the anima as well, yeah. So men can connect with his own anima to reclaim the balance in their psyche.
Absolutely. It is really a part of individuation, as Jung defined it. You begin with the shadow work so that you understand you're not the persona. There's some deeper aspect to your life. You go deep into the unconscious. You face the dragon, which is often the symbol of the mother archetype, meaning you have to break away from that enslavement to the mother. Then you can reclaim the feminine element, the anima, which means that you're reclaiming your own emotions. You're finding your own passions within yourself instead of depending on the mother or the wife to give them to you.
And to sum it up, it's really the goal for a man is to find his emotion, be emotionally balanced, be in touch with his emotions, be in touch with his spiritual, soulful self, more deeper, and also their creativity and their kind of a ability to inspire and be imaginative versus so left brain, so logical, so almost cold and focused on the external. And I think that's also another thing, is the internal world, not be so externally driven, and having that anima helps them build that inner world and that inner nurturing for themselves, so they can feel that love within themselves. They feel the emotions, they feel the passion of life, the purpose of life. It's a wonderful experience. So again, it's not that we all have a spectrum of our relationships with our mothers and our fathers, and this series isn't about blaming them. It's about understanding what we projected onto them, what we accepted, and then how we can really evolve ourselves and create who we want to be. We can have that. We have access to these deep sources in our psyche that can give us all the resources we need to become who we want to become.
Yeah, and what it does, it breaks the chain of that intergenerational pattern, so that you're saying enough is enough. Let's change the pattern. Let's begin a new way of being in families and these beautiful dynamics.
So we hope you enjoyed this series. It's been a pleasure to give it to you. We have more to come next week. If you're a guy, check out your Anima, see if how you feel, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Our podcast. We'd love to see you here every week, listening to this content and hopefully inspiring you to go deeper into your life and your own personal growth, and maybe possibly be inspired to teach this as a coach to your clients. So take care, everyone. Have a great week.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.